Hi, I'm Patricia Grabarek.
And I'm Katina Sawyer, and welcome to the Workr Bees podcast minisode.
Yay! Today we're doing a holiday-themed minisode because you'll be listening to this right before the holidays, and we thought it'd be fun to talk about some tips and tricks to make sure you're staying healthy throughout the holiday season.
Even just talking about the holidays makes me so happy because I get so happy around the holiday season. Like, I don't like winter, I don't like cold, but the holidays themselves just make me so happy. Like, I feel like everything is so much more cheery and lovely, and so I'm excited to talk about the holidays for that reason because I particularly love that time of year.
Yeah, I think that's a very common theme. Like, I really love it too, and I think a lot of people really love the holidays, and it's kind of interesting because it's also a very stressful time. So a lot of people get really stressed out around the holidays, but they also say they love it, which is kind of, I don't know, I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I guess part of it is like leading up to the holidays can be stressful. So maybe that's when you should, if we were going to give some tips about leading up to the holidays, maybe that's when you should be thinking about taking time to like really practice wellness and make sure you're focusing on staying in a good routine and things like that, even though it can be crazy with like trying to shop and get things done. But I think the reason people love the holidays is because of a lot of what we talk about in the podcast. Like, it's time to really disconnect and spend time with family. So once you like get to the part that the holiday is happening, then it's fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And it's usually like the last few days getting it really crazy. So I think one of the first tips is, like you mentioned, just really focusing on yourself and some self-care leading up to the holidays and even during the holidays. Because sometimes, being around family, especially extended family, can get stressful because there's just so many people and there might be a little bit of pressure or, I don't know, topics come up that you don't want to discuss, like politics. So I think you need to still, regardless of leading up or during the holidays, you really need to take some time for yourself and make sure you're focusing on your own personal health and well-being. So if you need a break from everybody, go take a quick walk or do a little meditation when you wake up in the morning before you leave your room so that nobody can bug you yet. I think there's just like little things you can do to make a little bit of space for yourself and really help yourself kind of handle the stress of getting ready for the holidays and all the crazy family that might be around.
Yeah, I think that is a really good point. So one of the things that I was going to bring up as a tip that I try to do, and I wasn't good at this before, but I'm getting better at it, is the holidays are a time when you're kind of out of sync with your normal routine. And from a physical perspective and a mental perspective, that can be difficult. And in some ways it's fun, right? Like, you're able to, attend fun events or, spend time with people that you love or whatever the case may be. So in some ways being out of a routine can be good, but in other ways your body can get thrown out of whack because you might be sleeping at different times, waking up at different times. You might be, not working out the way that you were, eating differently. So I think the big tip that I have for the holidays, and actually this didn't come from me, this came from a medical doctor who I went to a lot before my wedding to try to get on a good track for nutrition and wellness in general. And basically what she told me is, like, to the extent that you can preserve your routine, even if it's not perfect, but just trying to preserve your routines of the things that you do for wellness during the holidays will help you stay on track. So like, don't go to bed super late 3 nights in a row. You might go to bed later one night or something, but the next night try to get yourself back on track. Or if you usually work out every day, make sure that you get your workout done in the morning, even if you usually work out at night, for example, because the day may become unpredictable. You might not get to it. So you might feel off if you don't get your workout in. So try to think about, like, what are the things that you do on a daily basis for wellness and figure out how to build them into your schedule, even though you're on a different schedule, because those are the things that kind of keep your body in stasis.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because I'm just thinking, even when you come up to the holidays, you can become this crazy whirlwind where it's like the whole week is thrown off, leading up to Christmas or New Year's or whatever holiday you might be celebrating. And you let that whole week just take over and you don't end up doing the things that you would normally do just because you're like, oh, well, it's the holidays, I'm so busy, and you just keep telling yourself that and then let it all go. But I think you're right. I think if you think and focus on your routine and like plan and schedule, like, yeah, maybe on Christmas or maybe on New Year's or maybe, the one day that you're seeing your family, during Hanukkah or whatever holiday, again, during that day, fine, don't worry about it. Don't go to the gym, don't eat healthy, eat your mom's cooking, enjoy, have fun. But don't let every day surrounding it fall into that same bad habit. You know, if you can go to the gym in the morning before, you know, the festivities begin, great. But if you can't, that's fine. It's fine to like let go and let, you know, live balanced, right? You want to focus on the fun, you want to focus on the family, but there's no reason why every single day leading up to it or right after it, especially the week between Christmas and New Year's, like that week seems to be a really crazy one where everyone's just like, oh, I'm so tired from Christmas, I'm not going to do anything. And then, well, New Year's is almost here anyway, so I don't need to worry about eating well because I'm going to have a resolution soon. So I feel like trying to, you know, let yourself have what you want and do what you want during those couple days, but not getting completely out of control.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. That's something that she had brought up to me too, is like, if you have one off day, the good thing to do is not say like the next day, like, well, I was off yesterday and there's no real reason for me to be off today. Like maybe I'm not going to like any kind of special event, or, you know, we're not having a family party or whatever, but it's just that like 2 days from now we are, that you don't have to say like, okay, well, these whole 4 days are shot. Like if you can get one day in where you get in your normal routine out of four, like that's better than no days. So, you know, just trying to strike that balance and keep yourself feeling good and healthy and happy, I think is the goal. And I think also just trying to make, you know, healthy choices where you can. I think sometimes you can get into like a landslide of like, I know I do, like if I go to a party and I'm like, oh, like brie, and then I'm like, oh, pigs in a blanket. Oh, like, well, I already ate brie and pigs in a blanket, so like why not eat this bruschetta? You know what I mean? Like, and so you get into like kind of like a spiral. Whereas
Yeah.
one of the things that she was like encouraging me to do is, before you go to a party, a family party or whatever, if it's some dinner that you like completely love, like your mom's, you know, Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner or whatever, and you want to just go to town, go to freaking town. Like that's fine for that particular meal. But the next day, if you're going to a party at a friend's house and it's not anything special, try to like go to the party not starving. So like people like try to do the opposite. They think like, oh, I'm going to eat a lot at the party, so I won't eat a lot in the beginning of the day. But the thing you should do is like try to eat healthy stuff leading up to the party, so you're not going in starving. And then when you go in, just like kind of pick and choose what actually looks good to you and what you really want, and not trying to just like be like, well, it's the holidays, so like I guess I'm just going to go wild. So I think there's like a good
Mm-hmm.
balance between like picking the things that really like do like bring you joy and happiness, and like that you really wait for all year, and focusing on, you know, just paring back the stuff that's unnecessary. And then like it gives you more time even to focus on like the conversations and the relationships, etc., that you're building. Or like grab a friend that you're home with or home near, or a family member, and like do a workout with them or something like that. So like you don't have to do it every day, and you don't have to like stay in the same routine, but try to keep some normalcy. And like you can incorporate family and friends, and don't just be like, well, I'm out of control, so like the whole week shot, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of the idea, is like whatever it is that makes you feel good on a daily basis, don't lose that.
Totally agree. 100% agree. Yeah, don't lose sight of your goals, your broader goals, and what you do for self-care on a day-to-day basis. Maybe it won't be as frequent, maybe it won't be as intense of a workout or whatever, but just keep those goals in mind and keep going. And you can get through the holidays and feel you're gonna probably feel sluggish on some days after eating that big meal, but you won't feel as sluggish at the end of the whole season if you're actually able to maintain some normalcy overall. I think
Yeah.
the other thing, though, that I wanted to bring up is about like work and actually disconnecting from work. So, not just eating healthy and focusing on your personal self care that you normally do, but I think work is another component that comes into play with the holidays. So, a lot of times, like for me at least, at my company, things get really dead. Like that, especially between Christmas and New Year's, like very little happens. So it's easy for me to disconnect and just kind of do my thing because no one's really paying attention to email. No one's really doing anything. But of course, in some cases, that's not possible. So I think there's a couple tips that I was thinking about. So the first one is, if you can, if you're able to fully disconnect during the actual days that you have off or are taking off, you need to do that, right? Don't make it crazier by having to worry about getting gifts and making whatever dish you're supposed to bring and taking care of, getting the kids in their holiday attire and doing all of that, and then add in work for no reason, just because you feel like you need to. Really fully disconnect and be in the moment, be in that present moment, and you're going to feel a lot better when you get back to work instead of doubly exhausted from both the holiday stuff and the work stuff that you're adding in for no reason.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome point because it's a time when you're sort of allowed to disconnect and people are disconnecting. So if you're, taking advantage of that and saying, okay, I'm going to do this, it also helps to role model it for other people. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
there's always going to be the one person in the office that's probably like answering emails on Christmas Eve. Like, who cares about that person, right? Like, that's that, let that go. You don't need to be that person. And also, the more people, you see one person doing it, then someone else feels like they have to do it, then another person's. And soon enough, it's like, all these people who don't feel like doing anything feel compelled to do stuff just because everyone else is. So you can be, especially if you're a manager or a supervisor, you can be one of those people that says, I'm actually disconnecting and role model that so other people know it's okay too.
I totally agree. I think that's really important is don't get caught up in the look of it, that if other people are sending emails that you should do it. And then if you can, definitely role model it to other people and just say, I'm really disconnecting because I want to spend time with my family. And I think that makes a big impact. Like, the leaders in my organization do that. I definitely don't hear from them on Christmas or New Year's, and that's great because then it feels like, okay, well, they don't care right now, so why should I care right now? And I think that's huge. I think the other thing that I wanted to bring up though is that some positions, some jobs, it's actually way harder at the holidays to disconnect, because if you're like in retail or
Yeah.
restaurant work or anything like that, or coffee shops, everyone's running around to get their peppermint mocha from Starbucks or something. I think it can be really, really hard because you probably are working more hours, and it can get really stressful and exhausting. So I think if you're in that setting, you need to, obviously try to continue with the self-care, because I know you might be rushing from work to your Christmas party or whatever event you might be going to next. You might not have a lot of time in between. So just make sure you take 10 minutes, 15 minutes to just like breathe, relax, do a couple stretches or do something physical that you like to do. Even just for a tiny, tiny bit of time, just to kind of bring some sanity to your day. And I think you also want to help your teams out. So everybody within your team, if you're in an organization like that, is going through the same thing, right? You're all having to kind of pick up and work harder throughout the holidays. So maybe you can step up when somebody needs to take a quick break, and then someone can do it for you, and you can take be a little more flexible during the day to help each other out so that it doesn't get too crazy. That way you don't leave work as exhausted maybe as you would have been otherwise.
And I think also, if you have to work on a major holiday that, you celebrate and you're maybe missing some stuff that you don't want to have to miss. Like I used to wait tables for a long time and I had to work every New Year's Eve. And it was kind of a bummer, but what I tried to do is start my own tradition. So instead of doing the New Year's Eve type stuff on actual New Year's Eve, I would have like a big New Year's Day celebration. So just try to think about like if you can try to create your own traditions outside of what the norm is. Like it doesn't have to be a particular day. It's really just about getting together with people that you care about and having fun and disconnecting. So try to think about ways that you might start your own traditions outside of the normal holiday days, and make sure that you still give yourself that time to enjoy so you're not just totally missing what everybody else is getting during the holiday season from a fun perspective.
That's a great point. I mean, when I was in high school, I was working in retail, and I had to work Christmas Eve. But going back to the teammate thing, so Christmas Eve is the big holiday in my family. Like Christmas Eve is bigger than Christmas Day. So it was kind of a bummer to have to come in the morning and work, but I was so lucky because a lot of my work, coworkers, they would actually flip flop with me where they would work the later hours so I can come in first thing in the morning and do some work then, and they would come in later because for them Christmas Eve didn't matter. So Christmas Eve wasn't as important to them Christmas Day was. And then I would volunteer to come in the morning the day after Christmas Day, which is, the crazy I'm going to return all of my stuff day. So I gave them, a lot of them at that point were also older than me, so we're probably hosting more events than I obviously was at like 16 years old. And so I would come in on the 26th really early and start working and helping out for them. So we kind of like balanced it out in such a way that I could be home when all the Christmas Eve events were starting, and they could get a little bit of a rest after the Christmas Day festivities for them ended. So it worked out nicely. And I think it's really important just to have those conversations, be open, say the thing, tell people what's important to you and learn what's important to other people. And maybe management's not going to be as flexible. Maybe you can flip-flop shifts on your own. So I think it's just something to think about and to talk about with your groups and your teams.
Yeah. So I think, make sure that you maintain some consistency in your routine. You're going to be off, but you can still keep some stuff going. Try to make healthy choices or good choices that support your well-being where you can. Try to, make sure that you're taking time to really disconnect from work and spend time with those that you care about. And if you're in a job where it's hard to do on that day, be a good team member for other folks. Try to be flexible in your schedule to help out other people. And also try to start your own traditions. Take time for yourself on those days, just even little breaks to try to disconnect because things can get really crazy. And I think just have fun. The holidays are a fun time, and, think about what you've accomplished this year. Think about what you have to be grateful for. Think about what didn't go well and what you want to do differently next year and set some goals for yourself. But overall, let it be a time where you really enjoy, take stock, and continue on a good path to wellness, I think.
Yes. And on that note, we wanted to announce that we're going to actually take some time off from recording. We're going to take 2 weeks off. So we will be back in January on the 10th in 2019, which is
Woo-hoo!
Crazy. So we're disconnecting, and we hope you're able to do the same. And as always, reach out if you have any comments, questions, thoughts about the episode. We'd love to hear what you're doing for the holidays. And you can reach us on our email address, which is workrbeing@gmail.com. You can find us on our website, workrbeing.com. You can also contact us on social media at workrbeing. So thanks so much. Have a great holiday.
Happy holidays. Woohoo!
The Workr Being podcast is hosted by us, Patricia Grabara
and Katina Sawyer, and produced by Allie Johnson.